Hey everybody, greetings from Quarantine Effects USA here in New York City. So I am extremely excited to be revealing something tonight that I've been sort of teasing out on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter these past few weeks, I guess, at this point. And it's something that I've been working for quite a long time on, trying to get just right. And I'm extremely excited to be finally unveiling it to you all here. So without further ado, allow me to introduce you to the Aviator Fuzz. Alright, so as its name would imply, this is a fuzz pedal, a fuzz circuit that I designed to capture sounds that well, like anything in the Quarantine Effects line of effects, these are all sounds that I personally want as a guitar player and as a musician. And certain things, I guess if you go into the field of any sort of design or, pedals in particular, in this case, not to, take away from anything that currently exists or is out there, because I'm a huge purchaser of effects, and I love effects pedals, love guitars, love amplifiers. But, when you're designing something, you want to come up with something that is not currently available on the market, or certainly something that I'm not aware of being available. So I'm really excited to show you what this thing can do and what it's capable of. And I'm honestly still figuring out some of the things it's capable of. So you'll see me in this video, in the demonstrations, sort of potentially find some things that I wasn't even necessarily aware of before we made this video. So let me see, that's looking pretty good. I'm trying for the first time to make a video where I'm capturing audio separately. It's a little bit, ramshackled together, or whatever you want to call it. It's a little bit kind of put together in a funny way because of the framing. I've never done, I always watch these pedal videos that I love where they have two camera angles and they have one of the pedal and then one of the person playing it. So I figured I'd try my best to do that, but you see the second camera here. It's a little bit funny. But, all right, I'm going to get a sip of water for this. I love these things. All right, so it is a fuzz pedal. It's an octave fuzz pedal, which is something I am obsessed with. For any of you guitar players out there who are familiar with, Jimi Hendrix, who isn't, he's sort of the founding father of rock and, there were people before him doing rock and roll, Chuck Berry, for instance, and plenty of other people in that time period. And then, obviously the blues being the, I'm going to turn this thing down too, so we don't have to look at that. Unless that's cool. It's kind of interesting. It's kind of interesting, actually. Maybe you can see it. It's kind of cool. Yeah, okay, so, as I was saying, for those of you who have listened to the music of Jimi Hendrix, who hasn't, I guess? Certainly he was one of my hugest influences as a child, and continues to be. And he did so much for the instrument in his short time on this particular earth plane. It's kind of shocking to see someone who was only here until the age of 27 accomplishing what he accomplished in terms of revolutionizing the way that people think about the instrument. So, because of people like Jimi Hendrix, I've always been obsessed with octave fuzz, and I've owned some really amazing octave fuzz pedals. There are certain things in those pedals that I love, and there are certain things that I think, it would be great if it could do that. And that's kind of how this design process works. You have a sound in your head, and you say, I love that, and then you say, what can I do to achieve that sound or not even that sound, but, to achieve something in the category of that sound and have some additional functionality and additional tones that, may not have been possible with those other devices. So this is it's not in any way similar to the Octavia circuit, but there are parts of this pedal that remind me of those classic 1960s octave fuzz tones, but in a new, fresh way. And it's got a I should just probably play it so you can get an idea of what it does. But yeah, let's just start off. I'm gonna turn the amp on. Okay, as they say, here's my clean tone. Okay. I should tilt this down a little bit. No, it's probably seen enough yet. Okay, so there. That's just the clean tone, just the guitar straight into the amp. Here is channel 1 of the Aviator Fuzz. Okay, so that's one particular zone. Okay, so so one of the things you'll find on this pedal, which to me was something that I spent a lot of time figuring out how I would make this work, and because I think there are certain pedals that have done this, but I don't see it as often as I'd like. And I personally have never owned a fuzz pedal that does this sort of thing. But when it comes to certain types of circuits, particularly fuzz circuits, you may have heard people like Eric Johnson, incredible guitar player, musician. I've heard stories about him, how he'd be able to sort of tell, he could tell which brand of battery was in his pedal, in his vintage fuzz face. And I used to think that was so funny, but then once I started designing these, I realized, I can see I can understand how that's possible. And certainly I think that may have been a little bit of an exaggeration, but what I think is certainly true about it is that Eric could tell the difference between a 9-volt power supply and a battery in his pedal. So I got to thinking with some of that stuff that was on my mind in the process of creating this particular circuit. And I thought, man, wouldn't it be cool if you could emulate the sound of a dying battery, and while having it plugged into a DC constant direct current through any sort of isolated power supply. And so I figured, is it possible? Would it really work? And it turns out it does. So I'm very excited about this. So here you'll see on this pedal, I have a voltage knob. So as you can see also, this is an incredibly high output device, which I love because it allows you to, kind of go nuts. If you need to cut through a band or a mix, you'll certainly be able to. But the main reason it has high output is that when you start adjusting things like the high pass control, that's what HP stands for here. When you start adjusting that, you notice that you'll lose a lot of the, you're going to lose a lot of output volume. So this is sort of a makeup gain. I guess you could think of the output on this pedal as a makeup gain, sort of like you would on a compressor. So the fuzz right now is all the way up, which is where I like to start with this thing. And I started with the voltage all the way up just so you could hear that. But to be honest with you, I think the magic really happens when you start attenuating the voltage on this pedal, because it gives you it recreates the sound of a dying battery. But you can keep that voltage at a constant, which is incredible to me because, and really ideal, but the thing is, this runs off the battery as well. So if you want to just deal with the battery dying over time, that's totally fine and that totally works. Another cool thing though is you're also able to attenuate the voltage of a battery. So if you want to put a 9-volt battery in there, and let's say it's running at about 8.5 volts at its maximum, that's where this will be up here. But then when you start to attenuate, it will, and that sound is normal there, the crackle sound is because you're actually attenuating voltage. Or potentially increasing, you're adjusting voltage. So let's say you're here, right, where we were before. My switch on my guitar is acting kind of, there we go. Gotta spray that out. Where's my spray? Okay. Let me spray that now because otherwise that's going to be really annoying. That did it. Alright. So here's where we were before. Alright. I'm going to attenuate a little bit. This is going to bring you from like 9.34, which is about what's coming out of this particular power supply, down to about 8.6, I don't know, you know. Okay. So there you can hear, I don't know how it comes across to you guys personally. For me, that's what I would call like a voltage sag. So it kind of drops it down. Well, it's dropping the voltage a bit, but the thing that happens during that, you can really think of this voltage knob in a way, while it's primarily attenuating voltage, it's actually adjusting the EQ. So you're able to, to my ears, it adds actually a little bit more compression and takes a bit of that top end bite away from the note, which you may or may not want. But the cool thing is it'll allow you to dig in a little bit more if you want to without being too harsh. So you can take that even further. Bring it here. So yeah, there, there you're sitting at around like, I don't know, probably 8 volts. Let's bring it back even further. All right, cool. So there, and obviously you have quite a wide range. Bring it all the way back. This is the taper has a the taper has been sort of modified, so technically this is not the lowest end. Not that you need to know that, but there are different there are different sounds. So if you want to be at the lowest end, basically listen for where the volume is quietest, because that's the low point in the voltage on the potentiometer. But yeah, you'll notice that the more you pull back. The more you pull back to attenuate the voltage, you lose output volume. So okay, yeah, man, I love this thing. Okay, so, but the cool thing is, so if you want to bring that back, you can bring that up with a makeup gain. I'm keeping it a little bit quiet right now just because I don't want to wake up the neighbors, but I love that. Okay, so you got that. Then, so let's say you want to bring it back up. One thing, you'll notice, when you bring the voltage all the way to its peak, its maximum, which here is around 9.34 volts, every power supply will be different depending on the power in your house or wherever you are. Now I'm back at the top. You'll notice that, okay, so this thing is designed, I should say this first, it's like with all Quarantine Effects pedals, they're designed with maximum headroom in mind for the player, so that you have the maximum control possible with your fingers. So when you have the voltage at its peak, you're able to, that headroom is able to be fully accessed. So right now, this is this thing has got a lot of headroom, which is one of the other reasons I wanted to create the voltage knob, the attenuator, because when you pull it back, sometimes you don't want that much headroom. Sometimes you want, a fuzz pedal sometimes sounds best at a lowered voltage. That's why people like Eric Johnson love the sound of a battery, because it's usually not at full voltage. So Now with this pedal, you have the ability to regulate that voltage and keep it at a consistent spot. Find the zone that you love and keep it there, and then adjust it whenever you want to whatever you want to be, wherever you want the voltage to be. But yeah, it gives you a kind of squishier sound, which can be really good depending on your playing style. And so that's what the voltage knob is there for. It's a really powerful tool, and to me, I would start with that when making any adjustments to this. I will say, be careful with this output volume, because it is this thing is really loud. So right now I have the output volume set to around 3. I would start there. That's about unity gain with, that's about unity with the bypass signal. So I'd say start around there. But if you're going to be wide open to this pedal 9, which I love the number 9, so I have these knobs that go to number 9, which is sort of, I guess, the opposite of Spinal Tap, the amplifier going to 11, but for me this is great. And I think if you like number 9, then it's good for you too. But, alright, so let's see here. Okay, cool. So what else is here? Alright, so I want to show you the fuzz kind of is self-explanatory. I mean, you pull back the fuzz, you got this. That's full-on fuzz. Let's bring that back to about here. You'll notice it gets, of course, quieter because you're basically driving. You're not driving it. The circuit is hard. Let's bring it back to 4. Okay, so you might want to, at that point, make up gain. It's a cool sound too. Bringing the fuzz all the way back, and make that up with the output volume. So it never fully loses its fuzz sound, but you can get it pretty far away. Let's bring the output up high. So you can achieve an octave tone without much fuzz at all, if any, really, Sorry, my volume knob on my guitar, it's not the pedal, don't worry. This guitar, I love this guitar, but there's just a little crack over there, gotta fix that, okay. It's very percussive too, which I love. You'll notice that the octave still works what I didn't want to do with this pedal is to make something that has an unnatural artificial octave throughout, just like an octave pedal, because there are things that do that and they do it great, like the polyphonic octave generator. I love that pedal, but I didn't want that with this. So but the cool thing is it does have a more apparent octave than a lot of like the Octavia. It has more to my ears than the Octavia does, and I love that pedal too. But it's like all fuzz pedals designed in a more natural analog approach like this, you're going to find that on the neck position you're going to have more octave around the 12th fret, and with a Strat or a Les Paul or whatever instrument you want to play, a Tele, anything. But yeah, okay, so this with the fuzz almost all the way down, about as low as it can go without it shutting off the circuit. So here, let's attenuate this voltage again. So because I have the output volume so high, you're going to hear the voltage attenuation happening a bit more. You're going to hear that crackle a bit more. So yeah, if you don't, when the fuzz is so low, right here, when this fuzz is set to a low point, the voltage attenuator doesn't do as much in terms of well, to my ears at least. It sort of makes the fuzz less apparent, because the fuzz effect needs a certain amount of voltage to be able to work in conjunction with this control. So pull that. Still a cool sound though. I mean, it's not so much an octave fuzz anymore at this point, which is another cool thing about this. You get a lot of variety in this pedal. adjust back. Let's put it there. Okay, cool. So, got that there. Let's bring the output back down, bring the fuzz all the way up again. Because this is what the pedal's really meant to do, you know? Okay, so I want to show you what the high pass control does now. So as you'll notice, it also attenuates level when you back all these off. So I suggest for anyone anyone purchasing this pedal and getting their hands on one of these, you want to start with the fuzz and the high pass all the way up, because that's the full intention of the fullness of the circuit. And then you can adjust for level. You adjust the output volume, and for tonal coloration, I would start by adjusting the voltage knob, believe it or not, even though it's not technically designated as a tone knob. I would start there because there's quite a lot of variety just with that knob alone, that control alone. But now let's see. So let's say we're at full voltage, right? Let's bring the output back down to be at a level that's not so. So one thing that you'll notice with this pedal is that you can get some pretty wicked, awesome ring modulation sounds out of it. And one thing I love is that when you use when you're playing fifths, because the thing is, you can play chords on this thing, again, depending on how you set the fuzz, how deep the fuzz is, and I'll go into some more of the things you can do with the controls in your instrument in a minute. But you'll notice that you are able to achieve ring modulation effects. And in that, when you're playing fifths, for instance, there's almost like a phantom lower octave of the fifth that enters, sort of, I guess they call that psychoacoustics, and sort of harmonics that are there, but not created by anything you're actually playing. And so I love that, because you play something like this, that's like, I don't know what this is, just a riff that I like to play on this pedal. Sorry, my knob on here. I don't know why it's doing that, but it's my volume knob on my guitar. Okay, so you notice. See how that fares with this. Cool. Bring it back even further. There's plenty of options here. You're getting the point. Like, this voltage knob is very powerful, and cool. Okay, I get carried away with this thing, which is a good thing, good sign. But so yeah, So you can, where was I with this? You can attenuate the voltage, which we've been talking about, but you'll notice that it darkens the tone to my ears and allows a narrower threshold. So with the voltage attenuator, I designed it as such that you are able to, you can't attenuate voltage below where the circuit, it goes just low enough to where the circuit turns off, and to where to my ears it sounds, pleasant and not totally confusing to people. So you're attenuating, which I love, because if I hadn't done it that way, the circuit would shut off about halfway through the voltage knob. So it doesn't do that, which is great. So let me show you what I was going to get to the high pass. But you'll notice when the voltage is fully up, you have a lot of a pick attack, which is cool. So you can do things like, there's a very robotic kind of feeling to this. Pull the voltage back. So you get more. One cool thing with the voltage knob is you're able to sort of increase the apparent volume of the octave by doing that at times, depending on where everything else is set. But if you have it set the way I have it now, it also softens the tone. You get the idea. So now I'm going to go into the high pass like I promised. So now I've gone through the voltage knob, obviously the output volume, which is like a makeup gain, the fuzz, and now I want to move into the high pass filter, which you'll see this feature on the Time Machine preamplifiers as well. And in the case of the fuzz, it's a really cool thing because a lot of things, one of the things people love to do with fuzz pedals, which I love as well, is utilize the volume knob on your instrument, on the guitar, to influence the way the fuzz circuit behaves and to clean it up. So, I always like a fuzz that's able to clean up nicely, and this can definitely do that. But you've also got the high pass filter to adjust some of that. So this is pulling low end out of the circuit before you actually enter the circuit, so you're able to influence the way that the transistors behave because you're feeding them less low end, which creates an interesting sound. And actually, so I mentioned that because you got the volume knob on your instrument, and you got the tone knob here if I'm on this neck pickup. And so you can pull this back. So let's say we're not going to adjust the high pass right now. We're playing the same thing we're doing. So if I want it to be a little darker, obviously the voltage knob can do that. But pull back my tone, then now we're here. Fuzz is all the way up, you're not going to have a lot of clarity with full-on chords other than fifths. So it's good for that sort of thing. But the more you back up the volume in your instrument or the fuzz, you get a lot of that clarity back. But you know, I wanted this to be, you know, that kind of thing. Okay, high pass knob. So here we are. There. Let's pull this back. You'll notice you lose a lot of volume when you do that. But it's designed for that reason. You have plenty of output volume, makeup gain. But see, you notice you get that real pick attack, which is really nice. When you make it up here, only when you bring it up one notch, really. Even further. Make this up. So that's too unwieldy for you because it's very wide open. There is really nothing in this circuit to impede signal the maximum headroom that you would potentially want. So that's where this is when the voltage knob is there, all the way there. Let's say we keep that high pass at 12 o'clock. Pull the voltage back to say, let's say around 8 volts maybe. So you still have that attack from pulling a high pass filter down. More too, which is kind of nice. And the chords. So I love this kind of a robot quality that's the ring modulation that's happening. And I love that. I hope you guys do, because it's, or you guys do as well. But it's got this. All the way down. You get a very like so it does take, when you pull the high pass down, it takes away some of the fuzz effect. It's kind of cool, it'll give you like a broken kind of sound. So when it's at this setting, I'll show you. So at this setting, you can. I want to show you what you can do with the volume controlling your guitar. So I've been at 10 the whole time, which I like to keep it there a lot of the time. But let's bring this halfway down to about 5. I'm gonna have to make this up with the output knob. Again, the reason you have so much output control, so you can do things like this with the pedal. So now it's just sort of like a light fuzz that's kind of on top of your clean tone. And the voltage. Bring this, I'm going to pull this back for a second, just so the voltage knob is not as loud when I'm turning it. I think that's about. So, you can also achieve some of this, but if you don't want it to be so thin and so pokey, because the high pass, turning the high pass down will allow you to access a very pokey part of the tone, which can be really cool and extreme. It makes it more percussive. So pulling the high pass down allows you to be even more percussive with the effect. Let's say I keep the high pass all the way up. So that's allowing all the frequencies into the circuit. Not just the high frequencies. Bring my volume knob back up. Just bring the fuzz down. This is where it gets really, there are just thousands of things probably you can do with this. When you've got this set, so see you've got a weird, this is where it's really all up to the user and how you figure out what it is that you like, what kind of fuzz tone you're looking for. I didn't want to put anything on here that I didn't like, so I don't allow it to go so far. There's certain fuzz pedals that I played where it's like, whoa, it's almost it's intimidating because there's just so much that you can do with it that it gets a little overwhelming. I didn't want this to be that. So there's still some limitations which allow it to be what it is, but there are a lot of gray areas which allow you to do quite a lot of interesting things. So here, once you get to a spot, it just has this slightly broken up sound, and like this aged kind of sound, which I love. Let's say it's a little too dark, just pull the high pass down. Bring the fuzz back up to make up for that. Make it a little less dark. Of course, the voltage knob, you got plenty of. It's the interplay between the voltage knob. I'll say that without this on. The interplay between the voltage knob, the high pass filter, and the fuzz knob are really where you find sounds. There's just sort of an endless amount of sounds, depending on how you combine those three knobs and those three controls. Because the fuzz behaves differently depending on how much voltage is being fed to it and depending on how much low end is going into the circuit. But go back to where we started with this. Let's bring this fully up. So this is allowing, the high pass filter there is allowing all of the low end into the circuit. Here the voltage knob is fully up. Let's bring it back just a little bit. Cool, that's a pretty good spot to start with this. Okay, I'm gonna bring the voltage. Let's bring the voltage back all the way. Nice. So you may have also heard about, in addition to rolling back the volume on the guitar, rolling back the tone on the guitar gives you a whole different range of sounds. So here, that same sort of riff with this. So that's kind of more like what is described as the Eric Clapton woman tone. That's what he called it. You know, when you roll the volume all the way back, you get that kind of zone. Cool. Okay, so there's that. So I haven't even gone into the second stage of this pedal. So this is a sorry. Okay, so I haven't gone into the second channel of this pedal. So this is a dual channel fuzz pedal. It's a dual channel octave fuzz. And so you've been hearing, you know, all of this. I love that too. You can do things like, I just love the way that sounds with this particular octave effect. Okay, cool. So we've been just hearing that effect, but I want to take us into the second channel. So here we go. So these channels are not independent. So you'll notice that if you're on this channel, I have the LED wired so that you can always tell which channel you're on, which I find to be extremely helpful. With some of these vintage fuzz pedals, you don't know if it's a dual stage or a single stage, but especially if it's a dual stage fuzz pedal, sometimes you have no idea whether you're on the right setting until you turn it on and the engineer goes, what the heck? So if you're playing a festival and somebody goes on stage and accidentally presses the button, and then you get to that moment in the set where you're using the pedal and it's on the wrong setting, you can't tell. This LED, dual channel LEDs, allow you to see that, and the fact that the second channel, I call it flight mode. So this is on-off flight mode. Flight mode just takes you, further into the stratosphere along with the Aviator. And so, so you can set it if you like to where you go straight into flight mode. That's why this light's here. So right now you hear the clean tone. Nothing's gonna change, Oh, by the way, all these pedals are true bypass, in case anyone's wondering. So you're not gonna hear any sort of changes when you're just going straight through. Everything is, the signal is completely bypassed. The effect is completely bypassed. It's not running through the effect, so it's not altering your tone when it's going through this pedal until obviously the pedal is turned on. So you could set it like this if you wanted to go straight into the flight mode. But let's say you're here, you want to go from bypass into so now I'm going to take you into flight mode if you're ready. Okay. So here we were. So here we go from the channel 1 fuzz tone. Flight. Now it's pretty loud, so you might want to back that off. And the point of this is to be able to, you know what? Let's say you're in a duel with someone on stage, and they're going somewhere, and you're thinking, I want to take this a step further. Then you kick the flight mode. There you are. But if you want to set it so that you can go straight into flight mode, then you might want to attenuate that volume a little bit so it doesn't go too wacky on there. So I'm going to bring this back up here. Actually, let me go back. So here we're on the. So we're on standard. Here's the channel 1 fuzz tone. In the flight mode. I'm going to back on the volume so I don't wake up my neighbors. Cool, so you can see where that thing goes. So there's flight mode, and obviously the same features all work on flight mode. So you got voltage. I'm gonna pull that back. So I don't know if you guys remember that that amazing Tupac and Biggie Smalls song from the 90s, California Love. I'm not going to play the melody here because I would get in trouble. One of my favorite things about flight mode is it gives you you can get kind of some very strange vocoder effects. So if you notice, if you hold a note, because of what's happening with the voltage, let's say I'll just play a riff like this. Cool. Even down here. Cool. Okay, so and then with the you pull the high pass, I'm sorry, the voltage knob down even further, you got just a wide range of sounds, just like you do in the first channel. So yeah, if you pull it back to like 12 o'clock, you know, and one thing that you'll notice about with potentiometers, if you get really specific about it, it's kind of a little unfair to the pedal and to yourself to compare pedal to pedal in terms of where the potentiometer lays. Every potentiometer has tolerances, and so you never want to just use your eyes, use your ears, because the potentiometer will sometimes be, it's going to, something that sounds this way right here. On your pedal, maybe it'll be here. So just use your ears, because you can hear how much variation there is in just those tiny adjustments. Okay, so let's see what else we got here. So another cool thing is I'm trying to think of a way to play this without playing it. So you can also get some really cool sitar sounds. Sitar. So you can also get some really cool. So you can also get some really cool sitar sounds with this effect. So again, here's the clean signal versus. Cool. So, and if you back this tone off, I should show you. So, tone's all the way up, back that off, you get something like this. A lot of options. Okay, so for the sitar, you can attenuate the voltage and do a lot of things. You can still get these sounds with that. But so if you put it on a brighter pickup, in this case my bridge pickup on the Les Paul, cool. So then if you adjust the voltage, that sometimes can even help with that sound. cooler. You can see how powerful that voltage knob is. See, basically what's happening, I mean, you're letting more high end into the circuit, and it's creating sort of a breakup characteristic to the circuit that, for me, sounds like a crazy sort of remiked electric or remiked sitar that's gone through some crazy effects. I just love that. Go straight back, flip your pickup back, you're back into it. Okay, cool. So you get that idea. So now, I want to go into another crazy kind of thing this thing can do. Sounds bizarre. As for those of you reggae and reggaeton fans out there and all kinds of other styles of music that use this, you can get sort of an approximation and kind of a new sound in and of itself, but you can get the sound of a steel drum with your guitar. Then I would say this actually, the effect almost becomes more apparent when you're on an out of phase sound. So I was on the neck pickup there, but let's bring it into out of phase. This thing makes me laugh, it's great. Go straight back into Alright, well you guys, I've shown you just the tip of the iceberg of what this pedal can do, and now it's in your hands. So these the Aviator Fuzz will be available for pre-order on April 18th, my birthday, and it's a birthday present that I'm giving to myself and giving to you guys. And yeah, so if you're watching this video, the units will begin shipping on June 1st, 2021. So I will be shipping them in sequence. So if you like what you heard today and you want to get your hands on one of these things as soon as possible, go to QuarantineFX.com and place an order for pre-order for the Aviator Fuzz by Quarantine FX. I'll put it at the top of the page, make it easy to see. All right, you guys, thanks so much. So we'll play something to play us out.